I suppose I should just go straight into the introduction and say, welcome to all the films we judged before. I'm Katie. This is not Lily, who's with me this week. Or month, I suppose, as we're doing now. Lily's been a bit ill, so she's kind of taking some time to recuperate. She's also not really watched a whole lot of stuff, and she was like, I don't really feel like I've got a whole lot to say. So I've got Brian with me to chat about stuff that we've watched over the past month. We're a little bit late in the month, but, you know, we get there. We get there. Life is busy, and as much as I'm unemployed, other people have things on their plates. So I feel like I should have looked up some news as like a sort of start jumping off point before we got into things, but I didn't. Despite the fact that I have so much time on my hands, I was like, "Prep, what's that?" No.
Right.
Anyway, hi Brian.
Hiya.
Thanks for joining me.
Oh, it's a pleasure as always.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. How do we do this?
Well,
I don't
typically
know.
what we do is we talk about news, but if we don't have any, then that's...
We do usually... I feel like there probably is news. I just haven't looked any up. Should we see if I can find...
We can scurry and try and
some
find
news.
some news. Yeah, do you want to scurry really fast?
There's not any news that you've thought or that you've seen recently that you're like, hey, that's cool. That's cool news.
HBO Max, I think they're calling it that again. They're renaming it HBO Max.
Yes.
Has greenlit season 4 of The Last of Us, I think, or is planning on having season 4 of Last of Us.
Did they?
Maybe they didn't greenlit. I think no, that's fake news.
I was like, I don't think that's true.
Alternative facts. Craig Mazin said that it's probably going to take 4 seasons.
Okay, well that makes more sense. That makes sense.
That's a completely different factoid.
Because we know they officially announced season 3 just before seson 2 starts. That's the last we knew, like, very specifically. 4 seasons makes sense to me.
Does it?
Based on just how I think so.
Okay.
Just on how slow they did the second season.
Yeah.
I reckon there'll be like a big focus on Abby for the 3rd season, and then like that entire like last bit I reckon will probably be a 4th season. That's my guess.
I can see that.
Based off it. I've not watched it still.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not gonna lie, the reaction to it made me not want to watch it too much more than I already kind of didn't want to watch it.
Yeah,
but like
fair.
now for different reasons.
I'd love to talk to you about it later, because that's gonna be one of the things I'd like to chat about. One of the few things I've watched this month. It'd be fun to get into that.
That's fair.
I'm trying to think of more news.
I don't. They cancelled The Wheel of Time on Amazon, which a lot of people are very, 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 very sad about. And I had watched like a season and a half of it and was really enjoying it. So it's a bit of a shame. I feel like they've kind of we're moving away from what's the word? Fantasy TV again.
Yeah.
I think that it kind of less so like audiences aren't interested in fantasy TV, and more so production companies aren't interested in putting the money into making fantasy TV that fantasy TV really needs, because it's expensive to make fantasy TV. Especially when you want to do it like in a way that doesn't look cheap.
True.
And it like not every show is going to be Game of Thrones, so the money in versus like audience output is always going to be a bit skewed towards like more money in than like return, I reckon. And I just think that studios are not interested in putting that money out really, unless they think they're going to get a really big investment on it. And Wheel of Time did well. It was like well liked and had a decent following behind it, but it clearly was just like, especially as Amazon's putting all its money behind Lord of the Rings.
I was going to say, I wonder
I'm not surprised too much that they're like, no, we're not going to do this anymore. They also just actually did more news. Speaking of Amazon, I saw that they just cancelled, I think it's Étoile. It was about ballerinas, like, but it's Amy Sherman Palladino's new show, who did Gilmore Girls, it was initially what is the word I'm looking for? It was initially picked up for 2 seasons off the bat, and they've just cancelled it after 1 season. They dropped all 8 episodes on one day, like a couple of weeks ago, and they've already cancelled it. So I think Amazon's just in a bit of a cost-cutting phase.
Yeah,
it seems like
they're trying to recoup funds, perhaps, or at least not lose so much as they have. I reckon, like you said,
or
after you.
No. Go. I was just going to make a snide comment. It really didn't need to be said.
Fair enough. I was just going to say, I reckon that, Rings of Power really tanked them in a lot of ways. It has not been getting the reception that they hoped for. So, yeah.
And yet they're still doing another season of it.
I don't understand that. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, just quit while you're ahead, but... Apparently not.
I truly think at this point they're just like, we have to keep going with this because we've already put so much money into it. It's a very split way of thinking, really.
It's kind of like a cost sunk fallacy, though. It's like you're just digging yourself more as time goes on. But yeah. Any more news?
It's just I don't know. That's a good question. Did I see the trailer for Alien Earth came out?
Oh, okay.
And Lily's not here to speak on it, but do you know, I actually thought it looked pretty good.
Cool.
I can see some stuff in there already that's good. Like the premise already pissed Lily off, so I'm going to leave her when she comes back to inevitably have more thoughts on that.
Sure.
But I was looking at it thinking, actually, this whole thing looks really well put together, and really interesting. I think that there's like an interesting perspective on the whole thing, because it looks like there's a lot more focus on like the creation of. Do they have a specific name in the Alien universe? Because I'm not all that caught up with like lore. The androids.
No,
the robots.
Not probably, but not that I'm aware of. I can't recall that. When I say no, that was me being like, I cannot find that in my brain files.
I don't have that information currently.
Correct.
But it looks like they're creating those like synthetics. That sounds familiar.
That sounds right. Let's go with that.
It looks like there's a lot of focus on them creating those synthetics. There's also them like going out and finding like life in the universe and clearly bringing like an alien back to Earth and being like, oh no, alien. But I just think it looks good. I think it looks good. I don't know, man. Poor Lily is will consistently have a conniption over the entire thing, but I think it looks pretty decent, and I probably will give it a watch when it does eventually drop. I think it's I can't remember when it comes out. Please hold. I will find it in like just a second.
Holding.
August.
Oh, August. That was a quick hold. That's not far away.
This is what I said. I had it. It was reminded to me because it came up as a link on my phone, so I thought I'd just click on it. Yes, 13th of August. So I think when it comes out, I'll probably give it a watch. And I say this as somebody who doesn't like Alien's not my franchise.
No, it's
very
not
much Lily's franchise, and I'm sure she'll have so many things to say about it when she gets it. If she manages to get through an episode, that's really the big. That's going to be the big thing, but yeah, I don't know. I think it looks fun. I think it looks very fun.
Okay. I need to watch it. I cannot comment on it until I watch the trailer. So that's my little bits of commentary. It's just like, oh, nice, good, yes, wonderful.
Well, I think the two of us, because we did an episode on this end of 2023.
Yeah, bloody hell.
Did you watch the end of Doctor Who?
Right.
Yeah. Did you watch the end of Doctor Who?
I did. That was wild. Yeah. So that's some news, isn't it?
It was pretty. It was myself and a couple of other folks over on Couch Soup watching now did have recorded an episode about it. I don't know when. I imagine that will be up before this is up. So if it is, I will make sure to put it in the description and everything. We had a really nice discussion about it because and I'll have more actually surprisingly more coherent thoughts over there than I thought I was going to. But it was very much like this season has been really fucking good, and then that was just a weird way to end.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know. I need some time to think about it. It's hard for me not to see it as some sort of effort to pull viewers back in that they lost over the last couple of years, kind of like they did with bringing David Tennant back. And I've heard some interesting. I mean, I obviously none of this has been verified, but I've heard some interesting different accounts about what's going on behind the scenes. Some people say that this was kind of a favor that Billie Piper is doing for Russell T Davies.
Yeah.
Some people, there's kind of been this very uneasy, pessimistic view of it all, and it's hard for me not to view it through that lens. I don't know. I don't know. I liked that they brought Jodie Whittaker back for like 5 seconds.
That was sweet. I talked about it. It's honestly because I didn't quite understand what they were going for exactly then, and so I saw somebody put it in a way where it's like that was the actual handing over of the baton that we didn't really get between 13 and with Jodie and Ncuti. So it was quite nice to have it like even if it is like as a bookend piece. Also, just the little throwaway line about how she's like, "Oh, I should tell Yaz I love her," and it's like, "Well, you don't."
You won't.
And it's like,
she knows. They know. Yeah.
Makes me crazy.
That was nice.
One of the things that pissed me off about the end of 13's run, like so much.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know.
But yeah, it is hard to like have a particular feeling about it. I feel like because I know after I watched it, I was kind of like, I just don't understand what just happened. That's most of my feelings. And I saw so many people like really mad in a way that I was like, I understand all of this criticism, and I think actually everybody who has said all these things is entirely correct. I just don't have it in me to be pissed off at Doctor Who anymore.
No, me neither. Because that's exactly what I'm thinking. Like, well, I'm interested to see what might happen. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
And
I guess.
And one of my big things, and I like I said, I mentioned this in the Watching Now, and I'll have you can listen to my fuller thoughts over there when that episode comes out. But like, it's hard for me to be mad about Billie being there, because I was such a Rose, like Tyler girl growing up, like that. She was so important to like the creation of like me as a person. So she's turning up, and I'm like, well, I just don't have it in me to be pissed about this. I wish I could be with everybody who's like really mad on Ncuti's behalf. And I get them entirely. I understand how people are feeling his run was like overshadowed in both directions by nostalgia bait. And I think that they are entirely correct. I don't have it in me to be as angry about it as everybody else is.
I feel the same way. Exactly. That's really well said. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, and plus, my big thing is that the number of people who are trying to like revise history and be like, well, we should bring Moffat back. And I'm like, don't do this to me. Like, I'll die.
All you complained about it back then. It's like, do you not remember 15 years ago? It's like, oh boy.
Apparently they do. Everybody looks at it through these like massively rose-tinted glasses now.
Rose-tinted glasses?
Like,
Rose-tinted
glasses. Rose? Like a rose. And I could not do it again. I couldn't. I think I just fall over and die. I'm just like, no, please don't do this to me again. I'm like, I could not put up with it. Like, there are issues with Russell's new run.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. And I'm happy to point them out, and I'm happy for other people to point them out, and all of these things. I just could not do Moffat's like insistence on like being really obsessed with his own material, which I understand that Russell's kind of doing, but he feels like he's doing it in a less egotistical way.
Yeah, Moffat.
I don't know how to explain it.
It always seemed like it was like, look how clever I am about doing this. Was the
That's
vibe.
Exactly. Yeah, where he's like, but like, look at this is very smart of me actually, and I'm like, please stop talking. It's kind of the vibe, and then I can't do any more of his women. I could not put up with the misogyny again. I just don't think like I could not deal with another like impossible woman
basically
trope.
It is essentially
and another person who has like every single character trait known to man.
Yes.
I cannot.
In a lot of ways, sorry to interrupt you. I think there's a bit of delay. It's probably on my end, but I was just going to say that in a lot of ways the impossible woman trope was very much like a manic pixie dream girl in space type of thing, the sci-fi equivalent.
Yes, very much that vibe.
Yeah, especially Clara.
And I can't. Yeah, oh, for God, don't get me started on Clara.
Okay.
And I say this as somebody who actually loves Jenna
Me
Coleman.
too. She's brilliant. Yeah, she's
Clara,
brilliant.
Clara as a character pisses me
It
off.
was, yeah, the writing failed her, for sure.
It did. It
Yeah.
absolutely did. But enough about that.
Right. Do you want to talk about what you've seen this month?
I think we should. I think we should just get onto like the part where we talk about like what we're doing. Because
Yeah.
if we've gotten to this point in the episode, and maybe you've listened to a couple of our other ones, but you haven't done, or maybe you haven't done in a while, we've reformatted the show a little bit. We'll stop explaining this. I think after this one, because we've done, this will be the third one. But like, we have reformatted for like the new year. We're focusing less on trying to watch certain things and like review them properly, and just letting everybody get on with their lives and watch what they can, and then we come back together and talk about the stuff that we've seen, part of which was Doctor Who, which we just kind of talked about. You said you've watched you've got some thoughts on The Last of Us, which I am actually very interested to hear, because I've not talked to anybody very specifically about them, even though I've not really watched it. I've just read a lot of like the thoughts online, and there's a lot of feeling that the show's very much like not betraying, but like letting down Ellie as a character compared to the game. It's like there's not a lot of like space to let her be like as angry as she was in the game, which is like so interesting to me, because part of the reason I was like really hesitant to watch the show, because it was like I was like, I just don't know if I have it in me to experience the misery again. But it feels like they've actually taken the misery out kind of a bit, and that's actually made it, and now I'm a bit annoyed that they've not gone full hog with it.
Do you want to get into this now?
Yeah, let's do it.
I would say that's pretty. It's a good, accurate assessment of what's going on. I feel really bad for Bella Ramsey and all the hate that they're getting. I mean, it's extraordinarily awful, and it's kind of like, a weird. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh, goodness, wow! My brain just completely went kaput. But
Hey.
it's a sorry.
Don't worry about it.
But
the amount of trouble I have with word finding on this podcast probably should be studied.
I think it's called neurologists. I think. But yeah.
Please look at my brain.
It's just a bit of a deja vu with what happened with Laura Bailey, but with a completely different character. And Laura Bailey played, for people who don't know, Abby in the game. She motion captured and voiced Abby. But obviously Bella Ramsey is playing Ellie, and I don't think anyone saw this coming. I think fundamentally, I really, I really appreciate that we have a Last of Us TV show, and that we have to quality that we have, with the budget and everything. But I do think that perhaps Craig Mazin doesn't fully get who Ellie is in the game, and he's kind of projected his ideas of who Ellie should be onto the TV show, and he's essentially just made a different character. And there's moments where Ellie is the character in the show where she is in the game, but it's very infrequent. It's very hit or miss. It suddenly comes at you. You're like, oh, there she is, and then she disappears. And I just really am tired of, not like I have any control over this. Unfortunately, none of us do. But I'm really tired of seeing all the hate that Bella Ramsey's getting for this, and I think it's completely not on them at all. I've seen them work in a lot of different roles, and I think that they're more than capable of playing Ellie as Ellie is in the game. I think it's really the direction that they're getting based off the podcasts that Craig Mazin does after the show for The Last of Us.
Right.
I think that they pulled their punches a lot with certain moments, and then also went really dark in certain other ways that were unexpected.
Explain where you think that they think it went really dark in unexpected ways.
I mean,
I've not heard that one.
Yeah, did you hear about the Mel scene? The Mel and Owen scene?
I did, but I've only heard good things about that.
Yeah, no, I thought it was one of the best scenes in that episode.
All right, okay.
So for spoilers ahead, for anyone who hasn't seen The Last of Us, played the game, or The Last of Us TV show, this is different than how it is in the game. So there's a scene in the game where Ellie confronts Owen and Mel, who are two friends, two of the crew of Abby, who helped to kill Joel in Jackson. And she ends up shooting, I think in the game, she shoots Owen in the stomach. He says, and then Mel goes at Ellie, because obviously Ellie just shot Owen and they're kind of together. And she stabs Mel in the throat. And then Mel is dying, and then Owen says she's pregnant, and then Ellie realizes this and starts crying and gets really upset. And I think she almost gets sick. If I'm not, maybe I'm making that up, but there's a moment where it's quite intense. So how they changed it in this is supposedly Ellie says that she has no intention of killing either of them because she's not like them, is what she says. But Owen goes for the gun. She shoots Owen. It's kind of like a Greedo Han Solo moment. Spoilers for Star Wars, I guess. And she kills Owen after he shot first. So they changed that. And then the bullet goes through Owen and hits Mel and hits her throat. And as Mel is bleeding out, she's pregnant. And she says, "I'm pregnant. You need to cut the baby out." And there was like a 2-minute scene where she's trying to explain to her how to cut this baby out of her. And it's really intense. Ellie doesn't do it, but it's just really, really dark. And I'm glad that it's there because I think it does show the cost of what Ellie's doing and the horrific nature of just going about something and not really understanding the repercussions of it. But I think it was it that episode or was it? No, it was the episode, 2 episodes before that. So the Nora episode where Ellie and Dina are skipping around and laughing and joking like a rom-com. It just felt really tonally inconsistent. And it felt like it was a little bit too late in some ways to be like, this is a dark story. Like, it felt like all the darkness was within that episode and the Nora bits. And I get that maybe they're trying to show, like, they're 2 teenagers, they're in love, blah, blah, blah. I mean, fundamentally for me, I never really understood why they did the time jump after Joel's death in Jackson for 3 months. Because I think something so crucial in that story is how focused and obsessive and stuck in a trauma cycle Ellie is. Like, she can't think about anything else except for getting revenge and trying to close that loop and that feeling of hatred with herself that she didn't get the time that she wanted with Joel. By doing that, by having the time jump, they kind of skirt the lines between like, oh, but she's fine, but she's not, but she can be flirty and fall in love, but also she's really upset. It's like it just feels really wishy-washy to me. And so it felt like they kind of threw all the darkness into this last episode in my mind, which just felt strange, I guess.
It's interesting. This is kind of the basic like vibe I'm seeing online, generally speaking, about like they've kind of neutered her in a way, which is a shame because we know Bella can do deeply angry, and we know Bella can do all of these things. They're fantastic. We already know Bella like gets Ellie, I think, is the thing. We know that. We saw that in the first season. And I stand by, I think that the second game is just way more difficult to adapt, generally speaking. Because I think that the second game is like it's a complicated narrative and quite difficult to make satisfying, because in many ways it's kind of built to be unsatisfying.
Do you mind if
so it's quite hard to do that. Yeah, no, go ahead.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say, just to comment on that, and then please go for it. But I was just going to say that, to me, I think the blueprint they had of the second game, if they just followed that and maybe cut out some sequences, it would have been absolutely fine. But I think Craig Mazin just had this idea of, he talked about trying to be different, and in some ways he was trying to say that, you don't want to be different for different sake, obviously, but also he said, like, when you can change something and make it better, you should do that, essentially. And I'm like, but is it making it better, or is it just different? And, it's that idea of, like, if you change something enough, is it still the same thing, or is it just completely different adaptation of something else? Is it loosely based off the game? And to me, I feel like with all the cuts that they made and all the changes with the flashbacks with Joel and Ellie, and not starting with the scene, fundamentally I was really upset about that, not starting with the brilliant scene that the game starts with the opening of the guitar and Joel talking to Tommy, and those great cuts of the first game, and that being kind of a close. This is not hopefully too spoilery for what happens at the end of the game. I'm not going to say anything, but kind of alluding to something that happens at the end of the game. Not closing that loop with the beginning of the guitar and that shot with potentially a guitar at the end of the second game. You're losing something that's so fundamental. And it just felt like Craig Mazin potentially maybe doing that because he thought that there was improvement, but I think you're starting to lose the soul of the story. I'm interested in watching season 3. I really like what Caitlin Dever did with Abby, especially in the last episode. She really embodied Abby, and sounded like her too, which was probably not intentional. It was just an interesting coincidence. But I don't know. I'm really bummed about this because the second game is one of my favorite games of all time. So sorry to interrupt you. I just want to kind of explain exactly.
No. Please,
yeah.
this is why I keep asking you to come back and talk about things. I want to hear like thoughts, fully formed thoughts and stuff like this. It's
cheers.
Interesting to me. The impression I get based purely off like vibes, so is that I would, if I were to hazard a guess at Craig Mazin's like perspective on everything, I think that there's a fear of making it as dark as the game was, because, and I think, and this comes from the place where it's like I find the game to be a bit too much sometimes, but like not in a like, oh, they shouldn't have gone there, but just in a, I don't know if it balances exactly what it's trying to do to the best of its ability all the time. It's like I said, it's a heavy story. It's like as close as I can get to, because I've been complaining about the concept of like the not the concept but the phrase misery porn a lot recently, and I think like I fucking hate it when people use it, because half the time people are just like, oh, I just can't experience like heavy emotions, and therefore I think anything that exists in heavy emotions is just misery porn. And I'm like, fuck off, that's not. Just learn how to have an emotion, okay? That's all I mean. But I think that The Last of Us Part 2 it's right on that line of like actual misery porn at times, where it's like some of this just feels like really like dark and awful, almost for the sake of being dark and awful. And I get that that's kind of the point, but also it's a little too much for me. And I have a feeling if there's any reason for Craig Mazin kind of pulling back, it's that thing of like, I don't want to, of like that fear of being like, I don't want to go too dark, because if we go too dark, then we're gonna like shut people out and all this sort of stuff.
I think so too.
And I'm like,
yeah,
okay, but you do need to commit more than this, because I think that there's ways to commit to this and then kind of reply to those moments of like heavy darkness with something that says something a bit lighter, like later on, or like within the shade. Yeah. Because I think that there's a sense of like, I think for me with the game Last of Us Part 2, it's so like heavy grey, like for a lot of it, that it doesn't give you those moments of like, actually there is another side to this,
right, until
really late on. Like right at the end, and even then, it doesn't feel so much like it like, not to like actively spoil the end of the game, but like the actual end of the game, it doesn't. It's not like, oh, and everything actually we're on a better path. It kind of suggests that things are going to be a bit better later on, but where it actually ends is like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, it's tough.
There was a toll that happened, and I think that is a perfectly reasonable thing to do, but like, and in a game I think it works better, and I think that there is a way to go about it in a TV show that almost maybe brings it in a little bit more of like, or like makes it a bit textual earlier on, of like that like the material's not actually saying this is good, this is the thing that everybody should be doing. Not that I feel like the game does that, but like it does. The game kind of challenges you to be in it more than like a TV, because when TV shows are so passive in like your watching of them, you're not participating within the violence that is occurring on screen like you are in a video game. So I think that if you're doing it in a TV show, it has to be a little bit more like you're showing the violence, but the violence isn't being like backed up by the narrative in a way. Of going like, yeah, this is really bad, but like, please understand that textually we know it's really bad. And I think that there is a way of framing that in a TV show that it sounds to me like they're too afraid of going to that extra dark place to be like, actually, like, this is not good. The thing that we're showing you right now is not good. We're not vindicating the character that we're showing on screen right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, it saddens me to flatten a female character like Ellie like that, and taking away that rawness that is within her within the game, where she's just like, because Ellie's kind of awful for a lot of the Last of Us Part 2. She's kind of terrible to everybody in her life.
She's obsessive, and it's this idea of like, you have to stop, but you can't stop. You don't know how to stop, because if you do that, then you're going to face yourself. And she can't deal with that. So it's the idea of like, well, I'll blame everyone else, then look at myself and reconcile with that, which is I don't have the emotional capability to do that right now. I can't take it. And so it's this idea of like, she has so many chances to turn around and stop, but she doesn't. And I think I can't remember, but there's this really interesting what was it? Maybe it was a YouTube, or maybe it was a Reddit comment that once said that it's interesting about Ellie that, she does things that Ellie in the first game would be appalled of. But she's slowly becoming someone that she's not, because she has to be to deal with this. She's kind of becoming Joel, or how she views Joel as. I think what you're saying and what I'm saying, what a lot of people are seeing, is that this feels watered down. It feels like a much more watered down, safe version of the story, which is not what we wanted, because that's not who the character is, namely Ellie, in the story.
It's also not what the story is.
That's not what the story is, and it lessens the impact at the end by doing that, I think, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
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 I don't know. I find myself a little less motivated to watch it, and also slightly more motivated just in a, like, I'm coming at it from a less emotional standpoint and more of a critical one.
Sure.
Which would make it a bit easier to watch, from my perspective. So I'll get to it at some point.
What have you been watching? Out of curiosity.
I'll get to it at some point. What have I been watching? I can't remember where we got to last time. I was still watching ER last time. I still am, but I've slowed down a lot just because it's fallen off a bit from where I am right now.
Right, fair.
I'm in season 9. I'm like early season 9. I've watched like I watch episodes like every once in a while, of like, I should sit down and watch another episode, and then I watch it and I'm like, oh no, this is good, and then I get distracted by something else for a bit. So that's still like ongoing, but I think I said last time that I was like trying not to start The Librarians because I knew I was going to stop watching ER, and then I did that. I start watching The Librarians.
Nice.
I have about half a season left of the show, so I got to season 4, but my next episode that I have to watch is yet another episode where Flynn's gonna leave for half a season, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch that right now.
Well, I've never
I don't want him to leave again.
I've never seen the show, but I'm sure that sounds emotional. Is that fair to say?
Well, Flynn as a character, because Noah at the time was filming Falling Skies a lot, so he'd come in for like a couple of episodes and then he'd like go off, and the whole show is kind of based around this idea that like Flynn spent 10 years as the librarian,
right.
And then like a bunch of other librarians came in, he got a new guardian and all this sort of stuff, and he's like, yeah, I don't know how to work with you people still, so I'm just going to go do some stuff on my own, and all this sort of bits and pieces. And it's like, where in the final season that he's at a point where it's like, no, I'm here, these are my people, my family, and I would do anything for them, and all this sort of stuff. Except I know, like, something's going to happen in the next episode that's going to make him quit for like half a season, and I don't want to watch it. That's understandable.
It's good to protect your peace.
I'm just like avoiding it.
That is absolutely within your prerogative to do, I think.
But like it's like it won't be for that long is the thing. It's like 6 5 episodes of him not being there, and then he's back in the last one. So, and I know it ends happily. Is the other thing. The Librarians is an inherently very happy, whimsical show.
Yeah. Very optimistic.
It's not trying to do like tragedy. It's like kind of the polar opposite of everything that The Last of Us.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's no Last of Us. Yeah.
It's absolutely not. And I say this, it's so fun. It's silly fun. And I really enjoy the stuff that Dean Devlin and John Rogers make together. Because I'm also a big Leverage fan. Leverage Redemption just finished. I watched the last episode a couple of days ago and I cried. I was like, what the fuck is this? my silly heist show is making me cry.
No, that's nice. That's nice though. Hey, emotions are important.
But it's very true. But it's like both of them are really lovely. But like speaking of Amazon, as I was mentioning earlier on, they haven't renewed Leverage Redemption for season 4 yet. And I'm like, don't test me.
Don't mess with me. Yeah, exactly.
Fucking renew that shit now. I need more. I don't like. We already have. I know. Every time I think about Leverage Redemption, and I'm pivoting now because I'm going to talk about Leverage Redemption.
Right.
So Librarians is great. Don't get me wrong, and I will finish it, and it will be glorious and all that sort of stuff. But because I finished Leverage Redemption like 2 days ago, I'm like, we're doing this now. Every time I go to think about it, because I'm like, I love Harry Wilson as a character. He's so fucking ridiculous. And then I go, oh, I think he's my favorite. And then I think about everybody else and go, no, I don't. I have to stop for a minute because everybody's so good. It's just such a great little cast of characters, and for some, again, John Rogers came back to Leverage Redemption this season as opposed to the first 2, which I think were just Dean Devlin. And it's so, this season in particular has been fucking fantastic. Just so fun, really fun, like concepts and some really good cons and like some great character pieces in between, all over the place. Particularly Parker at the end of this season has got such a great like little episode. It was like noir based. So
That's
Parker's
cool.
off doing this like con, and every time she's doing like her like grifting stuff, it all goes into black and white, and she's like really playing this part. And then every time it's like everybody else back together, it goes back to normal. So it was just like a really fun concept.
That's
that
a cool
worked
idea.
very well. And
That's very clever. Yeah.
And Beth Riesgraff, who plays Parker, gave this just like such a great performance in the last episode, like full of like a lot of emotion and like gravitas. And Parker's one of those characters where I'm just like, she's just so great. She's just such a great and interesting character. Very autistic coded, which I love desperately. Very important to me personally, but it's just such a, there's like so many really great little relationships between everybody, and it's so like like prevalent to like
relevant
stuff. Relevant is a better word. Yeah, it's very relevant and very intentionally relevant.
Yeah, and
I love the way that they're kind of they view like some of the stuff with like people more around my age. In our age, generally speaking, and like how we were meant to be a generation of people who were like doing things better than the last generation, and like now we've got all these like we're still participating in cycles of corruption and like doing awful things to each other, and in some ways it feels like it's worse than it was before, because I think it's that element of like betrayal of like, but we were meant to be better than this, and it just hasn't really, like in some ways it has, but in some ways it hasn't. And Brianna as a character kind of like embodies all of these things of like, I'm so frustrated with the state of like how bad everything is. And I want to make things better, but there's only so much I can do, and it can feel really insurmountable at times. And it's been doing it. I mean, the first 3 episodes were like, the first episode was about a guy who was like stealing water from, I can't remember exactly where it was, but like he was actively draining water out of like an underground, like it's not a riverbed, but like a water plane.
Yeah.
And like completely drying up an area and making it like actively, like it was very much a metaphor for the Flint water crisis, basically.
Sure,
and it was not subtle about that fact. And it's like this guy was basically like the head of Nestle, and like all of these bits and pieces where you're just sort of like, wow, they're really fucking going for the throat this season.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally said the phrase "legality does not equal morality" at one point, and I'm like,
oh boy.
Thank you. I mean, that is it.
Yeah.
That's just it. That's the entire thing that we're going for. Anyway, Leverage Redemption's fantastic. I don't know. Did you ever watch like the original
No,
Leverage?
which is silly because it was filmed in Portland. I also didn't watch Librarians, and I was on that show briefly as well. So, like in a very, very, very small.
Do you know it was
part.
really because I remember you saying that, and I got to it because you said it was like in a swimming pool,
Yeah,
right?
it's probably cut.
You were at a swimming pool?
I was on the swim team.
I watched an episode that was very much I watched an episode that was all based around a swim team. I tried to find you, but I wasn't watching a very good
version of it.
quality version of it, and I feel like the only thing I could see was like a picture in a book, and I was like, is he in there? I can't fucking see him.
I'm in that picture. I'm in that picture in the book. I remember we all took a group
I thought
picture.
you were, and I'm like, I was desperately trying to see if I could see you in it, but this because I could not get a good enough, like higher quality enough version of it to be able to be like, where the fuck is he?
That's amazing. Yeah, we had a whole team. We had a whole scene that was cut, I think, as well. It was a long day shoot that, of course, they used like 2 seconds of, which is typical, with anything.
Yeah, and I got that impression as I was watching. I was like, I feel it's probably more because like a lot of the team doesn't actually feature in the episode. They're just like mentioned very briefly, and I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Where is he?
That's okay. That's okay. Are you happy with talking about Leverage and Librarians? Would you like to continue? Would you like to move on, or how are you feeling about that?
No, I'm just highly recommending people take the time to, if you watch the original Leverage, you should absolutely be watching Leverage Redemption, because what the hell are you talking about? But like, if you haven't seen either Leverage or Leverage Redemption, you should watch both, because they are still, Leverage still holds up. It's still fantastic. I haven't watched it in a while, but like, it's in the UK, it's all on Amazon Prime, so you can watch all of it there. But like, I mean, it's like, if you like heist movies, it's a heist movie in every episode.
That's really cool. It's a great concept.
It's exactly what you would want it to be. Yeah, and it's so fun and very, like, poignant and relevant, as mentioned before, because it's very much like, it's like the concept of being a Robin Hood, like, thief and stealing from the rich to give to the poor, but like on a massive scale. And the really fun thing about it is that you'll be like, yeah, in some cases they'll target some like greedy CEO that's like taking advantage of a bunch of like people, and they'll like con them and steal all the money and then give it back to all the people. Then like, that's the simple one. And then in other versions of these cons, they'll take somebody and be like, and now we're going to psychologically torture them to the point where they never want to do any of this again.
Just break them. Gosh.
It's so funny because it's like there's one or the other and you don't get an in between. It's just like,
all or nothing.
This guy needs to be absolutely fucked up.
Oh my god. I wonder
Which is like, because...
Oh, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to completely different, but I was just going to ask if you know if it's filmed in Portland still, Leverage Redemption, or not.
I think Leverage Redemption is actually done mostly in, because it's set in New Orleans.
Right.
And I think they film parts of it in New Orleans. I just don't know where they film, if they film all of it there.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I wish I knew, but I don't.
That's okay.
There's also a new Librarian show that I want to get round to watching, but I haven't started it yet because I feel like I have to finish the Librarians first.
As opposed to the Librarians, the Librarians versus the Librarians. You get my joke. Yeah, that was. It was. Yeah, I'm so tired. God.
Yeah, no, there's the Librarians that was on TNT, and now they've got a new show on the CW called The Librarians: The Next Chapter, and it's like an old librarian from the past suddenly comes into the future and has to do librarian things. It's so fun, and I will never get over the fact that like Flynn Carson as a character is so like he was already just like, he was just a guy really who becomes kind of like an adventurer in the movies. But in the TV show, they've made him into the Doctor. He's basically the Doctor. He's like an amalgamation of 10 and 11 in the best way possible.
Interesting. I should give it a go. Yeah, I should watch it sometime.
You should. It is genuinely just so fun. It's so fun and lovely, and joyful and silly. And I keep saying it on my Twitter, but my main thing is like I cannot get over the way that like he's such an inherently silly character. Is Flynn Carson, because he's just like. I mean, and I've said this about Noah, generally speaking, he acts like a Muppet a lot of the time. The man is just like a human incarnation of a Muppet. But Flynn's very Muppet-like in many ways. But he still, like, insists on playing, like, the moments of, like, emotional gravity with Flynn, with, like, 100% sincerity. So the moments where Flynn's like genuinely devastated, I'm like, Jesus Christ, we don't need to be this serious in this show. What the fuck is happening?
Kind of like 10 would be David Tennant's 10th Doctor.
Right, but it's those moments of like genuine like devastation and sadness. You're kind of sitting there going, but the situation currently is that they're fighting off werewolves. It's like, I don't need to be feeling the existential like horror of accidentally letting somebody you care about die when there are werewolves running around.
Hey, the first 5 seasons of Supernatural did that very well, I thought, too. So
yeah, but Supernatural's kind of was built to be serious from the ground up.
Yeah, it was.
I think the librarian's so inherently like whimsical and silly that the moments where you're just sort of like, he's there like, oh my god, I can't, like, this is all my fault. I fell into this trap. I've caused all of this heartbreak and sorrow, and you're like, apparently werewolves descended from Anubis. Like that's what we're existing in, the world we're existing in right now.
You didn't know that? Yeah, of course. I think that was
apparently Anubis is the original werewolf. That's what we're
actually. I kind of like that. That's actually kind of cool. Okay. Anyways. It's
very silly, and I enjoy it immensely. And if you need whimsy in your life, you should probably watch The Librarian. And if you need to see really bad people get taken down by a bunch of criminals and a guy who really likes putting on wigs and doing silly voices, then you should watch Leverage Redemption.
Will you wear wigs? That's a shout out.
Will you wear wigs? When will you wear wigs?
I love that video. With that's Dominic. Oh, what's his last name? Mahogany. That's Mahogany in the Wood. And Elijah Wood on in
Dominic
interview.
Mahogany. That's been anyway.
Okay, all right.
Most of what I've been
movies.
I'm moving on.
Right.
That is most of what I've been watching.
Right.
I've also been slowly making my way through the Mission Impossible movies again, because I did watch Final Reckoning. Mm-hmm. In fact, I watched it twice in the same week, and I do have some feelings about it. Mm-hmm. But I'm planning on writing an article for Couch Soup on all of them.
Cool.
Yes, I'm watching all of the Mission Impossible movies again, because I watched Final Reckoning, and then I watched it twice in the same week, because I had booked a ticket for it on the Friday, because I couldn't get a ticket for the Wednesday, and then Wednesday morning I checked, and I was like, I'll just see if there's, like, any seats available, let's have a look, and the seat that I call my seat in the cinema, in the screen that I like to go to, for the first showing of the day, on the day it came out, was available, and I went, well, the universe wants me to go watch Mission Impossible.
Yeah, apparently.
So I went and saw it on Wednesday, and then I went and saw it again on Friday, and I think that second viewing was very important to my enjoyment of the film. Oh, beg your pardon. Simply because I went into it, because it's like been marketed as like, it's kind of like the finale sort of movie. It's like the end of an era, all these bits and pieces. We don't know what's going to happen to the franchise after this, but like it probably isn't going to get a new one in a very long time. Mm-hmm. And if we do, it's probably going to look very different. All of these bits and pieces. So I went into it thinking there was going to be like a lot of like twists, and I thought they were going to be like trying to psych us out in a lot of ways, and like especially with the concept of the entity, which is this, malicious AI that like actively has been sort of rewriting truths in the world. And like, changing things and like causing war and strife and all this sort of bits and pieces. I thought the film was going to try and trick us, but actually the film's very straightforward.
Right. So it wasn't that.
I haven't seen it yet. It's and I will keep it like spoiler free. In that case, in terms of like its specific plot points, but like the movie is very straight up. Actually, everything that you see is happening is absolutely happening, and it's less of a like to me it just feels like another Mission Impossible film.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's fine.
Okay.
But the going into it with the perspective that like this is meant to be like a franchise ending film does make it like it's not as fun watching it the first time. If you're going into it thinking it's going to be this like huge climactic thing, it's actually quite quiet in terms of like comparatively speaking to like some of the other Mission Impossible movies. There's a sense of like inevitability about it that isn't I don't know how to put it very well. I'm still like formulating my thoughts about it really, but like
I think you're doing a good job.
It just doesn't feel like it's as final as I was expecting it to be. Considering the title is called Final Reckoning, it doesn't really feel like this is the end for Ethan Hunt. It feels kind of like it feels more like they're going, and we're just going to put this down for a bit. Like, we're good with this, and we're just going to leave it here for a bit, and we're good.
It's a bit like,
which is,
like John Wick 4 type of vibes in some ways, without spoiling John Wick 4.
I haven't seen John Wick 4, so I could not tell you.
There you go. Perfect. Even better.
But, like, I don't know. There were some emotional beats in the movie that I felt like it didn't take, despite the fact that, like, the building blocks were there. Gabriel as a villain, underutilized in my opinion, especially as like who he was to Ethan, how like he kind of created Ethan as a the concept of Ethan Hunt almost, because it's like set up in Dead Reckoning, a little bit of spoilers for Dead Reckoning, set up that Gabriel killed like Ethan's girlfriend, somebody very close to him. It's not very clear on that front, but it's that crime that gets Ethan arrested and then gets him found by the IMF, who give him the choice to become an IMF agent or go to jail for the rest of his life, because he's basically like put on for this murder that he didn't actually commit. It was Gabriel, and it like changes the course of Ethan's life basically. And there's a lot of Gabriel kills a lot of people very close to Ethan in both of these films. And it doesn't really dig into the emotional weight of that, which confuses me, because it's right there, and they just kind of didn't do anything with it. And so there's like little moments of their stuff like that in it that frustrate me, because I know they can do better. Because I just watched Rogue Nation and Fallout for this past week, Fallout last night, and like the stuff that they kind of are going for in Final Reckoning is a lot of it's in Fallout, so I know they can do it, so I'm kind of just confused as to why they didn't do that.
Well, yeah, they continue that if they already had that essentially. So I haven't seen...
It's like there's enough sort of building blocks in there that like I'm confused as to why there wasn't more depth in. And I get a little frustrated that Benji, in the relationship between Ethan and Benji, wasn't giving more like time in Final Reckoning as well. It's like it's there still, but like they're not really together for a lot of it. And I don't know if you've seen the promotional material, but there's a shot they've been using in like all of the promotional material where like Ethan's holding Benji's like forehead to his, and they look really really emotional.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
it's not in the movie.
Yeah, sure.
It's not in the film.
They cut it brilliant.
It's not in the fucking movie.
Love that.
And I'm like, what do you mean?
What do you mean?
I wanted to see that. What do you mean? It's frustrating because like they keep using it in all the promotional material. It's not in the film, so I'm like, well, what are you doing? Why isn't this in the movie?
It's so frustrating.
But
I was just like that one.
Trammell Tillman, who is in Severance and is fantastic in Severance, is also in this, and he's also fantastic in this. Like genuine scene stealer. Like he's in like a couple of scenes in this little tiny submarine, and he's like both times I've seen it, everybody has had like an active like vocal reactions to the way that he delivers lines in the best way possible. He's so good in it. It is a good film, but it's just not the best film, and you kind of wanted it. I think felt like I wanted it to be like the best film. Yeah. So it was a little bit of a letdown when I saw it, but like I still love this franchise. It's ridiculous and silly and The stunts are incredible in it.
They
Don't
are.
get me wrong. Like
Yeah.
obviously the whole biplane thing that they've been showing in all the promotional material was also fantastic. But the sequence that takes place in the submarine, and that's not really a spoiler, to be honest with you. Like, if at any point you watch Dead Reckoning, you'll be like, okay, yeah, there's going to be a sequence in a submarine. There's some sequences in some submarines. Like, all this underwater stuff is like, that is like so, because it's all done underwater. There's like things falling on top of them. It's like anxiety inducing. And it plays out like a silent film because there's just no dialogue really. It's so good. It really is so good. The only other thing that Final Reckoning is missing for me is that it doesn't have like a really long car chase through a really nice city.
Yeah.
There's just not really. There's like a tiny little car chase near the end of the film, but like, meh. It doesn't matter. I have a lot of big, complicated thoughts about Final Reckoning as a movie, but
That's fair. But
it is good.
You're a fan. And
I promise. I promise it is good. It's just not. Not exactly what I wanted it to be, which kind of makes me sad a bit. But you know what?
Understandably so.
I can watch Rogue Nation whenever I want.
That's also true.
I don't know. Have you seen many, if any, of the Mission Impossible
only
movies?
one.
Which one?
Is it Ghost
Describe
Protocol?
it. I'll be able to tell you which one it is.
Ghost Protocol? Is that what it was?
With the Kremlin explosion and the climbing up the Burj Khalifa and all that sort of stuff.
With Henry Cavill with his arm guns. That's what I remember.
No, that's Fallout.
Oh, that is Fallout. So I've seen Fallout. Hey, look at that. Brilliant.
Fallout is a good one.
Yes, I like that one. I was quite impressed with that. But yeah, no, I'm not the biggest Tom Cruise fan except in Edge of Tomorrow. I love that movie. It's a fantastic film. But
great.
Yeah, I would like to watch them. It just hasn't been my thing recently. I don't know why, but I am planning on seeing both of obviously part 1 and part 2 of the latest Mission Impossible movies eventually.
Yeah.
There's a lot to catch up on.
You kind of the trouble with Final Reckoning is that it is like, it is very much like to be fair, it does like a massive expedition dump within the first 45 minutes of the movie, which a lot of people keep complaining about, but actually I like it because like all Mission Impossible movies start with an expedition dump. It's not actually the end of the world. And I quite like the references back to the old films and like how much it ties into. It's very, very much you need to have seen 1 and 3.
Okay.
And 7, but like, because that's
Okay.
obviously it feels directly on them. But like
Sure.
1 and 3 play very heavily into the lore of 8. But yeah, it's the only thing that frustrates me about the opening like part of the movie is that it's edited in a way that like the timeline doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And I've kind of thought about it a couple of times. I'm like, I can't figure out what they're going for.
As in,
Like there's 2 different sequences that are kind of edited side by side, but you kind of sit there going, wait, but they know all the information in this sequence which took place before this sequence, so why the hell is this second sequence happening in the first place?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
It's where I'm kind of keep sitting with it at the moment, where I'm like, I can't figure out what the point of going to see this character was, but it's also been a couple of weeks since I watched it, so I might be just forgetting something. But I sat there for like the second time being like, why the fuck did they go and see this guy?
It's never a good sign.
And other than to get to the point where like this very specific plot point happens, like
Right.
I can't. I've lost the thread.
Lost the plot.
I'm sure it's in there. I've just lost the thread of the plot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I wanted it to be a bit better than it was, but it's still like really well made action cinema. And I've got like a slightly different perspective on it now. I've watched some of the older movies just in terms of like character progression, because I love Ethan Hunt as a character. He's so ridiculous, because he's just like, he's so pure as a character. There's no like sort of evil I mean, he can get petty, which is one of the things I love about him. He's a very petty bitch as Ethan Hunt as a character, but like he's not like secretly evil.
He's very
you know,
wholesome
he's
in a lot of ways.
he's very wholesome in a lot of ways. He's very like he stands for something very specific, and that is helping people. And it is such a pure motivation that is how he does everything. And there's something very, I don't know, I guess kind of inspiring about that. There's like a weird meta element to it as well that feels like there's something about the way that Ethan is able to do everything that he can because Tom Cruise just kind of believes that he can do whatever, everything.
That's a good point.
And those two things are very intensely tied together, and it's kind of hard to not see one without seeing the other. At least I feel like
they influence and inform each other. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's I don't know. I find it very interesting, and they're just like fun. They're fun movies that I love very, very dearly, and I will stop talking about them now.
It's okay. I'm just wondering, Kate, just to kind of pause, how are we doing in time? It's been about an hour, I think.
I literally just was about to say, we're about an hour in. I was just going to ask if you had seen anything else that you really wanted to talk about. Otherwise, we could probably wrap things up.
We can wrap it. I was just going to talk about Thunderbolts, but we can do that next time. I can save that because I plan on watching it again. I really enjoyed it, but we can... Let's. I
still haven't seen it.
Let's save it for a different conversation when maybe you've seen it, because I'd love to chat with you about it, because I think that'd be fun, because it gets quite a lot more emotionally intelligent than I thought a Marvel movie could or would. So I'd love to chat with you.
This is what I have heard about it, and I'm ashamed to say that I have entirely missed it from the cinema. I think it's just gone.
It's gone now. It's gone.
I just kept missing it, and I was focusing more on seeing Mission Impossible than I was seeing Thunderbolts.
That's understandable.
I'm so sorry. But when it eventually, because it might have to wait until it comes out on online on Disney Plus. I don't know when that will be. It might be a couple of months from now, but when it does come out and I get a chance to watch it, we'll absolutely talk about it. But you liked it?
I loved it.
You could go into that. Okay, cool.
I loved it. Yeah, I want to see it a couple more times, or at least one more time. But I didn't expect the emotional intelligence that that they got through. It almost feels like through, I don't know who runs the board of Disney or whatever, but in a Marvel film, and it felt very. It felt like a movie with a message, a movie with a purpose, a movie with a point, a movie that was not just about making money, but was about helping people feel seen and understood, and that was really moving and touching to me. So yeah,
quite excited for Fantastic Four.
Yeah, me too. And I'm seeing Ballerina tonight,
which
I'm excited about as well.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Hang on, Fantastic Four. When is First Steps out? I feel like it's soon, but it's July, end of July. Right, cool.
Okay,
yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, me too.
I'm very, very, very excited for it. It looks very good. And then we've also got The Bear, like in a couple of weeks.
Right, fucking hell, I completely forgot about that.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
So I think if you're about for our our next episode, probably our July episode, we can
get into that.
Accidentally shut Lily out of the conversation and start talking about The Bear.
Goodness gracious. Yeah.
No, I'm really excited about season 4 of The Bear. The trailers just both look so. I've seen a couple of trailers now, like a couple of ones with like putting in extra like footage and all that sort of stuff. It just feels so much better immediately than and it's doing exactly what so far from the promo perspective, it's doing exactly what I was hoping it was going to do, and I figured it was probably going to do just from watching season 3. So I'm very relieved and like hopeful, over that fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope they can turn it around, because I was not a fan of season 3 for the most part, and I felt like it was just I think we discussed this at length, that it was an elongated, kind of stretched out version of a season 3 that they cut into 2 seasons. So it'll be interesting to see if there's more in this season. I'll be like, oh, there it is, or if that's not the case, it'll be interesting to see where they go with it all. So
the impression I'm getting, because my big thing with the season 3 was that like we didn't get the emotional sort of resolution that we've had with the past 2 seasons, and I feel like that resolution that we were hoping for at the end of this half of the season is coming in this one. I think we're getting. Yeah. Well, I think we will hopefully get Kami in a place where he actually has like is able to be emotional with people
and have a conversation that he's able
have
to
a conversation.
Yeah.
Talk about his feelings, not push everybody away, not become totally stressed out and toxic and all these sorts of things.
And
I
just
think he's
finally
actually
fucking talk to Claire. Like, just say something, anything. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're heading in a good direction. Is my big thing.
I hope so.
So that's good.
Touch on wood. Yeah.
Yeah. Not touch wood. All of that stuff. Okay. Well, I think that's a good place to end.
To wrap it up.
Wrap it up. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. So thank you for hanging out with us. Hopefully we'll have Lily back with us next month. Send her some well wishes. I think she could, it would be very nice for her to hear some lovely things from people. Yeah, and we will see you probably early July, like more likely than end of June. Early July will be probably the thing for. But as always, I've not been very good at keeping on top of the Twitter account or the YouTube account, other than like posting things, but. When we are getting like in the run up to like the episode coming out, we will post. I will post on Twitter and on YouTube to be like episode coming out X day, sort of a thing. So just keep an eye out on those places, and watch movies. I guess
watch all the movies.
Watch all of them. Every single movie.
Every single one.
Do nothing but watch movies.
And
okay.
And yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.